Hey everyone, this is the Jolly Monkey and Sven the Crusader, in spirit, to bring you Monkey Broadcast Lite. Yeah, we've made a couple of changes this month, and here's why. Like every other time we've done this show, we made the announcement so that people could get the questions in and everything else. We sat down to record on Skype, we spent over 2 hours talking about various things like we normally do, then I went into editing the files, and then I noticed that all of our recordings had, well, just listen. Hello, and welcome to Monkey Broadcast, our monthly review discussion show with me, the Jolly Monkey.
And me, Sven the Crusader. I have nothing to add on to this, so please carry on.
Yeah, there was no way I could make that into a listenable show, and despite all of my efforts, Audacity can't get rid of the sound, so we're stuck with it. And unfortunately, there isn't enough time for us to record everything we said all over again, and then for me to edit it. So for this month, we're just gonna have to make a light version. I apologise, and we'll try to think of something to make up for it next month. But for now, we'll just have to continue with this light episode. Starting with, as always,
Q&A!
This is of course the section where we answer questions sent to us by the studio audience. If you'd like us to answer your questions, please send them to us via YouTube PMs, leave a comment, or hit the ask button at thejollymonkey.tumblr.com, Tumblr without an E for some reason. Our first question came from Mega Shadowrunner, and it's more directed at Sven than me.
I was wondering if you guys could recommend some good power metal band stroke albums to check out.
Power metal bands, yes. You hear MSN going off in the background. Never mind, don't care, already been through enough for this recording. Blind Guardian, Hammerfall, Rhapsody of Fire, Power Wolf, Halloween if you're into that, Stradivarius, maybe Sonata Arctica, Power Glove, definitely Galnarius, check them out. Edguy, Avantasia, Heavenly. I think that's about it. Let's go with that.
Yeah, I don't think I can contribute to that since most of my power metal knowledge comes from Sven, for obvious reasons. Now, our second question comes from Trainman666, and he asks,
What are some games you consider to be underrated stroke underappreciated in the world of video games today? And what is said game like?
well, right off the bat, I'm going to say Donkey Kong Jungle Climber, and if you want to know what that's like, take a look at the talk-through I'm currently running on my YouTube channel. Other games I would consider to be unappreciated... One game I haven't seen get a lot of praise, attention, or even noticed is an RPG for the DS known as Solitarobo. Basically, it's a game that's a cross between an RPG and a platform game. Now, like an RPG, there's a long plot, there's a world to explore, you have to take quests. However, it's like a platform game in that the characters are anthropomorphic animals and the tone is considerably lighter than most RPGs. So whilst there is serious stuff in it, it's generally light-hearted and balances the comedy and drama very well. And the characters are fairly simplistic, but still really likeable. But the other element that makes it similar to the platformer is the combat system. It's real-time, and like certain games such as Mega Man, the controls on the combat are very easy. The combat is based around one mechanic. The hero, Red, rides a mecha that can pick up heavy objects. That's it. The difficulty comes from A, the situations you're placed into, and B, how you use it. In other words, it's easy to get into but hard to master. And it's a lot of fun, I've got to say.
Dark Cloud 2, for starters. In short summary, third-person adventure game. Came out in 2002, really bright, really colorful, played it whenever I was 10, and it inspired me partway to become a writer. Fire Emblem, I suppose? Ogre Battle 64... Don't really need to explain either of those or introduce them, they're on the channel. The Tales series, I suppose, but going into this, I suppose Jonin will have already covered that.
I had actually forgotten about that, thank you, Sven. Yeah, the Tales of series, it doesn't get quite as much recognition as it should. It's basically a series of RPGs that all have Tales in the title, for example, Tales of Symphonia, Tales of the Abyss, etc., etc. These games are Japanese RPGs, and they have a great big anime influence, but the combat system is real-time, and has a control system that is actually pretty similar to Smash Brothers. A plus the directional buttons are your regular attacks, B plus the directional buttons are the special attacks, which you can learn more of by leveling up. And yeah, honestly, it is a lot of fun. The battles are intensely exciting, and also what I like about the Tales series is that, again, they have the balance between comedy and drama in that there is serious stuff going on, but the series doesn't take itself too seriously, and in fact, there are often character-based skits in the game that are basically just the characters making fun of themselves. But yeah, that's all I can really say about the Tales series.
Final Fantasy IX. If you need me to explain a Final Fantasy game, you obviously haven't been around the gaming community very long.
And to interject again, I should also point out that the reason Final Fantasy IX is different from the other Final Fantasies is that the director's original intent was to take the series back to its roots. So Final Fantasy IX draws more from old school Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasies 1 to 6. So that's the reason why me and Sven kind of like Final Fantasy IX, just because it is unlike any 3D Final Fantasy game at this point.
That's about it, I'd say, without getting into really obscure DOS games on Steam. That's about it.
And that's all for the Q&A. We'll now go to the next section.
Review!
The two things I covered were manga related. First, I picked up the Legend of Zelda manga, or to be more precise, the manga for Majora's Mask and the Phantom Hourglass. The series is actually hit and miss. When they cover stuff that's already in the games, it tends to be much weaker, as they're desperately trying to cram everything into 8 chapters, and as such, the fights on the actual dungeon aspect of it tend to get just skimmed over and feel anticlimactic. When the story adds stuff to the original, like how they established Link's experience as a knight in Majora's Mask, or the comedic scene they made out of that stupid puzzle of screaming loudly into a DS microphone to get a cheaper cannon, it is really good. So yeah, overall it's an interesting ride, but I wouldn't recommend picking it up if you're not a Legend of Zelda fan already. And it's time for us to basically moan about manga in general. And of course this would be the time for us to moan about manga. Although, that's something that may not happen for much longer, because I am giving Bleach and Fairy Tail 1 month, because they've gotten so bad that I can't even use I want to see how this story ends as a justification anymore. Fairy Tail has been hitting so many ridiculous lows lately, including cutting away from a cliffhanger to 2 side chapters which are pointless and unsatisfying, so I'm dropping it if the main plot doesn't come back to something breathtakingly clever. And Bleach, it's been getting so dull and uninteresting, because Kuma can't seem to make up his mind what the hell's going on. This entire arc has been established as a powerful force enters Soul Society and starts murdering everyone, including fan-favourite character Byakuya, Right, Left and Center, and then suddenly, oh, it turns out they're not that great since Kenpachi killed 3 of them by himself, and now Yamamoto, the leader of the Soul Society, is completely destroying the leader of these invaders. So yeah, it's become dull because what are the stakes here? What am I supposed to be feeling out of this? Is the Soul Society under any actual threat, or is this another lame excuse to make them look awesome? Like almost every arc since Aizen's defeat. So yeah, both of those series have only 1 month to impress me before I drop them completely.
Bleach? Oh, God. Do I have to? Okay, so putting aside the fact that, in an overpowered DBZ sort of fashion, Zanken Otachi may look kind of coolish, intriguing, the bullshit avalanche does not stop. It really doesn't. Especially with the latest chapter, I mean, we're supposed to believe again that someone did not kill who they thought they did. I'm sorry, Kumo. That got old in Naruto before the time skip. You're a bit late to the party. Oh, and am I the only one who shudders to think just the level of Deus Ex Machina this man's going to have to pull out for Yamamoto's inevitable defeat? I do not sense bright days ahead. I'll just leave it at that.
On the flip side though, Naruto has actually been getting a lot better. I mean, yeah, the twist was so predictable that people have been guessing who it was for 4 years, and it turns out they've been correct. But the way they've handled the twist has actually been done really well, and right now they're going into the explanation of it all, and it seems to be fairly well thought out. So, yeah.
Naruto. Same old, really. Hasn't really changed since August. Obito's backstory being revealed doesn't change the fact that it was the most trite plot twist ever and made no sense. but at least the backstory's interesting, and might I add, Minoru Uchiha makes for possibly the most distracting senior citizen I've ever seen in my life.
And I'd rather not go over the news section again, since it was pretty much just us rambling about the Wii U Direct conference and which games we may or may not be getting, and the brief news we got about Ace Attorney 5. So I'll close it off with a new section I was intending to add to this broadcast anyway.
Audience!
This is a section I was planning to introduce anyway, because when I set up the blog, yes, the blog, also known as thejohnnymonkey.tumblr.com, Tumblr without an E for some reason, one of the things I wanted to get from it was more participation with the audience. Admittedly, that hasn't worked quite as well as I hoped yet, which is why I'm constantly blogging it. But the point is, that's why in the last Monkey broadcast, I opened the chance for people to get involved in the discussion we were having. But since I knew we were going to be talking about the news rather than the discussion, because at the time I thought we had a lot of stuff to talk about with the news, I decided to give the audience a chance to be witty instead. I gave them this sentence.
You know you've been playing too much blank when you blank.
And unfortunately we only got one reply, then that was from Roy Havenstone, but he gave us several, which I am now going to use in this section because, quite frankly, they're amusing. So, here we go. This is what Roy Havenstone was able to do when given that sentence.
You know you've been playing too much Pokemon when you refer to pigeons as Pidgeys. You know you've been playing too much Fire Emblem when you instinctively plan for enemy reinforcements 2 turns ahead of time.
Yes, that does happen when I'm playing Fire Emblem.
You know you've been playing too much Harvest Moon when you have a daily timetable for what you're going to do in the game, but not one for what you're going to do in real life.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I avoid those games like the plague.
You know you've been playing too much Legend of Zelda when you receive a package in the mail and the receive item music plays in your head.
And on a similar theme,
you know you've been playing too much Final Fantasy when you imagine the victory fanfare playing after completing a task.
This may or may not happen to me when I achieve something at work. And finally,
you know you've been playing too much Ace Attorney when you come to a false conclusion during an actual trial and you think to yourself, there goes another block of my life bar.
Thank you, Roy, that was awesome, and hopefully we'll get more of the audience involved in the next broadcast. Like I said, all you have to do is pay attention to the blog at thejohnnymonkey.tumblr.com, Tumblr without an E for some reason, to keep up with all the announcements of what's going on. And that's all we have for this month. I've been the Johnny Monkey, he's been Sven the Crusader, and hopefully things will be back to normal next month. See you then.
That was Monkey Broadcast, a monthly review and discussion show hosted by the Johnny Monkey and Sven the Crusader. If you feel that you've been the subject of slander or that your copyright has been misused, please PM me and I'll try and get around to fixing it as soon as possible. We also welcome any comments, be it feedback or your own viewpoints on any of the things we've discussed. Until next month, have fun kids!